So I want to take you through a little bit of a story here about essentially how salespeople ruin everything. And as technology is starting to permeate every remaining crevice in the world of sales, let's make sure that we learn from history and get it right. Because I think we've got a huge opportunity to. I think video is one of the big ways to do it. And we're going to talk about that here in a minute. March 10th is probably the most significant day in the history of sales technology, and you're living in it right now. 146 years ago, so the year was 1896, the notorious AGB, Alexander Graham Bell, made the first phone call ever, right? He called his assistant, Watson, who was in the other room. Unfortunately, we salespeople ruined it, right? We ruined the telephone to the point where technologies had to be created to prevent salespeople from selling. That's number one. This is Dr. Shirley Jackson. Dr. Shirley Jackson actually invented the technology that led to caller ID, one of the many technologies that were built to prevent salespeople from selling. And then what happened? Well, that didn't work. The government had to get involved, and they created the Do Not Call registry. Let's go to the next one. Email, right? This guy, Ray Tomlinson, 1971, sends the first electronic mail. Fast forward to today, salespeople ruined it again, didn't they? We needed to create technologies to prevent salespeople from selling, right? The junk inboxes and spam catchers, IP blacklists that the email service providers have created. And once again, the government had to get involved, didn't they? That in 2003, in the US, the Canned Spam Act was signed into legislation to prevent salespeople from selling. What came next? LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn, this incredible gift to salespeople where now I can hyper target my contacts. I can see their face. I can see where they live. I can see their resume. I can see what they've posted, what they're interested in, who they follow. Incredible. Ruined it again, right? I mean, just check out my connection requests. There's like 40 right now that are the worst things you've ever seen. And half the time when I accept one, I get the pitch slap right afterwards, which is the like, hey, can I get 15 minutes from you right out of the gate? Again, we're ruining LinkedIn. And I look at video and wonder, like, hey, there's an opportunity for us to catch that before we ruin that too, isn't there? I have three counterintuitive ways that I want you to think about the future of technology and the decisions that you make as you're digging into this. If we start to think that way in the way that we drive buyers through the buying journey, why change? Why you? Why now? And start to think about that systemically within your organizations and the way that you forecast and the way that you measure deal progression, that is automatically going to change the way that you engage with customers. And it's going to change your perspective on which technologies to be using. All right. So that's number one, is that idea of thinking about buyer behavior instead of your own selling behavior as you progress through the sales cycle. All right. The second thing I want you to think about is this idea of, you know what, actually, I'm going to pop this up for you. Buyers know more nowadays, don't they? Right? Today, we look at buyers having all the power, right? Because they've got the power because they've got all the information. I would argue the opposite. Two things. Number one is, if consensus buying is hard, imagine how hard consensus buying is when everybody's remote, right? All your buyers don't have the opportunity to run into each other in the parking lot or when they're grabbing coffee in the break room or wherever other crazy, like they haven't been able to do it like actual happy hours. That's been gone for a while. And as a result, consensus selling is hard, consensus buying harder. And the third piece of that is remote consensus buying is infinitely harder. So that's number one. Number two is, with more information, as it turns out, more information has actually done more harm to buying than good. All right. Here's a quote from Brent Adamson at Gardner that says, the single biggest challenge of selling today is not selling. It is actually our customers struggle to buy. we as buyers don't make decisions based on like, I want to fulfill myself and do the project that's going to give me the greatest enhancement of my life. That's BS. That's not what buyers do. What buyers do is they look at the priorities they have and they look and say, all right, what's the path to get to these? And which one is going to be worth the squeeze? Each one of your buyers has 100 things that they could fix, but probably only the bandwidth to work on 5 or so. And as a result, they are trying to create an expectation for themselves and are choosing the ones that are going to give them the highest reward, but with a balance around what that journey looks to get there. Number three thing that I want you to think about, and this is the last one, and then we'll do a little Q&A, Tyler, if we've got some time here. Here's a line that I want you to think about. We as human beings, we don't buy when we're convinced, or if we do, we're probably pissed about it in a few weeks. We buy when we can predict. I want you to think about this idea that when you buy something online today, so when a website's acting as a salesperson, what do? Well, 99.9% of us read reviews before we're buying something we haven't bought before that's of medium to high consideration. Meaning, like, you're not buying a pack of gum, you don't have to read reviews, but if it's something you haven't bought before, you're probably reading reviews. Here's the amazing part. All of you probably go to the negative reviews first, don't you? Right? So you probably skip the 5-star reviews and go right to the 4s, 3s, 2s, and 1s. Am I right there? Like that's what we all do at the time. The data was showing that it was 85% of us do it, and that number has gone up as well. And the last piece on this that's amazing is that a product on a 5-star scale that's got an average review score between a 4.2 and a 4.5, that's ideal for purchase conversion. Meaning that a product that has negative reviews right under it, like, hey, this product sucks, helps the product sell more, right? Because it provides context. Again, we as human beings are prediction machines. We're not going to buy when we're convinced. If all we're doing is preaching 5 stars, like we're perfect, we're awesome. Did I mention how fantastic we are? We're actually driving the buyer to do more homework. And you think about consensus purchasing, how hard that is. If you're presenting your solutions as perfect, you're driving the buyer to do more homework. You're adding cars to that Culver's line, and you're driving buyers to the status quo. There's an opportunity to embrace what you give up to be great at your core. If we don't buy when we're convinced, we buy when we can predict. I think there's a huge opportunity for you to embrace what you give up to be great at your core. Meaning, can you help the buyer predict by being the Sherpa for them? Do the homework for them. When you do the homework for them by saying, hey, listen, if I'm in your shoes, here's how I'm thinking about this. Here's what we're great at. Here's a couple of things that the competitors do better. Here's the how I'm using video today. For every single proposal I send to a potential client, here's what I do. I go half screen, so half me, half my proposal, and I record a 3-minute video that goes along with it that walks through and gives context to the proposal and explains it. All right? Super easy to do. And it looks like this. This is my cheap version. I'm not in I look like I'm stressed out here, but I'm not. But I just go half screen. I walk the client through the video. Here's why this is so powerful. I made it easier on the buyer. So instead of it feeling like there's 14 cars in the drive-through line, I made it till there was like none. And they could just go and try to build consensus and get me a yes or no as quickly as possible. But the journey for them is now easier too. And so I literally just delivered a proposal on Tuesday and got this text back from my client, right? Saying, hey, thanks for the video too. You'll save me a meeting or two. I think there's a huge opportunity for you as sellers to use technology to help remove friction from that buying journey and make sure that I think there's a huge opportunity to differentiate in the way that you sell. I think video is a perfect opportunity for you to do that. As you deliver a proposal, you deliver anything, put a little video along with it, and you'd be amazed by how much helpful that is, because They've got to summarize this thing, take the work off of their plate. We've got a huge opportunity to differentiate in the way that we sell. The first thing I want you to walk away from is to think about doing all things through the buyer's lens. Number two is remember the bias of the reward, that we are biased of our perception of a reward by the journey to get there. Use technology to remove friction for the buyers. I think there's a huge opportunity as well to do the homework for the buyer. Because again, a buyer is going to buy when they can predict, not when they're convinced. And remember, your role is to Sherpa them through that process. All right? If we walk away with those things, we're going to make smarter technology decisions and not just throw it around. I believe the word scale is a bit of a dirty word. And so let's think about technology in making the buyer journey better and less about making the seller process so much better. And we're all going to win. All right. And maybe, just maybe, we get ourselves back to the year 1916 when sales was trusted, respected, and even admired.